Do not buy land online. Do not buy land online. Welcome back, everyone. This is Griot of the Diaspora, and I am your host, Nakaira G, and today's episode is about Ghana. A recent article came out by Africa News Report about the Asebu Pan African Village project. So if you are not familiar with this project, or you are, let's talk about this because it's some serious issues. Okay, so let me break down a little bit about Asebu Pan African Village here in Ghana. If you go back to my first 3 YouTube videos, you will see me do interviews with some of the residents in Asebu. I went to go speak to them back in 2022. As early as about 2023, there have been different reports coming out about land disputes. So let me give you a little bit of background history on Asebu. So back in 2019, around the time of Year of Return, pretty much after Year of Return, 2019, 2020, the announcement about the Pan-African Village Asebu came out. Now, Asebu is a village out in Ghana's central region. So if you've been to the slave dungeons in Elmina or Cape Coast, Asebu is about 45 minutes from Cape Coast or Elmina side. Okay, so a recent report came out by the Africa Report, and the title says Ghana's Year of Return turns bitter as locals protest land takeover. So there are articles that go back to 2023, 2024, where information about these land disputes have been happening. And so I'm here in Ghana, been here for a couple years now, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been hearing so many stories about Asebu. Back in 2022, I went to go visit the land. I actually went to go visit Asebu. I didn't know anything about it until after I came to Ghana. And I was introduced to Asebu, and I was told that the land was $1,200 for a plot. Now, I made the decision not to buy land, even though I could have, and I know that a lot of other people did, but I just was not convinced. And later in this video, I'm gonna give you my reasons as to why I didn't buy land in Asebu, but let's talk about the report. Real quick, y'all, make sure you download my new ebook. It is a travel planner and journal. I made this about 1.5 years ago, and it's really, really cool. There are 10 different entries. So as you are on your travel journeys, make sure you download this ebook. It's only $10, and you can get it on my website today at nakedgoldonline.com. You can download it, you can print it, whatever works for you. Make sure you cop that today. So I pulled up another article that came out last month by New Line magazine, and they pretty much broke down this Asebu Pan African Village project pretty much from 2020. And they even included the different YouTubers and the different people involved and people that were a part of kind of like the marketing of it, even if they weren't necessarily a part of the team. And so in this article, they bring up different YouTubers like Karen in Ghana. They bring up conversations that she had on her video. And they also mentioned that Karen came down with the Hebrew Israelite community. And so let's get into this article a little bit. So it says here, the promise of land was particularly enticing. Ghana's offer, free of bureaucratic hurdles, held the allure of tangible ownership, something historically denied to African Americans. It quotes, "It is a free land. They are only supposed to pay $700 for documentation." The coordinator of the Pan African Village project, Nana Obakesi Ampa, told New Lines. For returnees like Simmons, Simmons is another name that was in the beginning of the article. Acquiring land in Ghana symbolized reclaiming what their ancestors had lost, a personal and collective act of restitution. Yet others, such as Kwame Agyemang, a 52-year-old farmer from Asebu, are furious. Initially hopeful about the Pan African Village, he was alarmed to learn his own land was included within it. We realized our lands were part of it. We were shocked. That's what the local farmer, Kwame Agyemang, who is a farmer here in Ghana, also in Asebu, was quoted saying. Agyemang lost 5 acres of palm trees for which he was compensated to the tune of just $1 per tree. According to him, several families have been forced to abandon their farms to make way for the project. Frustration has been mounting, leading to tense confrontations between affected locals and some of the returnees. It quotes, some of the youth went there the other day to demand answers, but they were met with threats, guns were pulled on them. Now the matter is in court. Real quick, y'all, make sure you download my new ebook. It is a travel planner and journal. I made this about 1.5 years ago, and it's really, really cool. There are 10 different entries, so as you are on your travel journeys, make sure you download this ebook. It's only $10, and you can get it on my website today at nakedgoldonline.com. You can download it, you can print it, whatever works for you. Make sure you cop that today. Let's talk about some things, okay? Because I think that there are a lot of different parts of the story that is not mentioned in a lot of these different news articles. And there was also recently another video that recently came out by DW, and they recently came to Ghana during the citizenship ceremony. So let's take a look at that.
I don't know if you think this is great advice or if you see it as somewhat condescending. What are your views?
Yes, I think what Prof is saying is quite true. Now, I heard my sister from behind me say that these people have money coming in. Yes, they may think that what they have is not enough for them as they come in here. But from the ordinary person on the streets of Accra, let's say Oxford Street, you see, if I want to walk on Oxford Street and buy what Prof is wearing, I can walk there and buy it. But can you imagine getting to Oxford Street and there's a vendor selling this thing, Prof standing there? The moment the person realizes Prof is coming from outside, his donation, the person prices this thing very high. So it brings a certain gap. But at the end of the day, once the prices go up, it doesn't come down. And we are the ones who suffer eventually. And that is a problem we are facing here today. Their presence is actually creating a problem for us economically.
But I want to come back to you, Mr. Kwesi, because obviously these emotional sentiments have the potential to become something else. Xenophobia, Afrophobia. Are you just telling people come in, or are you putting in place strategies so that integration is sustainable and seamless?
In terms of the expectations from both sides, when we started a year of return and we started our first December in GH, the prices of goods in December more than quadrupled because people thought, hey, this is a year of return, we have an opportunity, let's milk it. It happens everywhere. When you go to the Olympic Games, prices of everything goes up. Yeah. But then we had to meet with people at the art center, with the tour operators, with hotels to explain to them that we are in this for the long term, that this is not just an open window for you to cash in. So it's something that we are building, but it's not going to take a day. The cultures are different, so let's try and work ourselves to integrate. So when I talk about cultural integration, it's also looking at how do we make sure that people understand what we are doing.
So the reason why I showed this video is because you see in this video, the guy that is from Ghana, he basically says it's the Americans, it's the Diasporans' fault that prices are going up and that people are charging now even the locals for local goods as well as for rent. So the reason why I showed this video is because I want to really have a real conversation about Ghana right now, okay? I think that we are not really having like a full experience in the country. And some people, whether they are coming with really good intentions, whether they are coming with the most hopeful spirits, they're being met with things and they're being blamed for things that, quite frankly, they don't have the power to control. And I think at some point we have to kind of just break all of this down, okay? Land cannot be sold here by just anybody. And in this particular situation, the chief of Asebu is the one who is participating in the selling of this land in this area. So back in 2022, when I went to go visit the land, I was introduced to Asebu by African Americans, not Ghanaians. And when I went on the land in 2022, and you can see the YouTube videos, I talked to people about Asebu. I talked to them about why did they choose this land and things like that. So anything that I'm saying, you guys can go see in the videos because I actually went there, met these people and things like that. And so what I think is really unfortunate with what's happening is because there are people, I was told back in 2022, and it's even said in my YouTube video that over 300 plots of land was sold back in 2022. And so again, when I was being introduced to the land, it was also told to me, over 300 plots of land has been sold. And my video is not the only video where this is talked about. So what is happening, what I'm assuming what is happening is that some of these people are coming. People were buying land before they had ever even came to Ghana. Some people had came to Ghana before, but a lot of people bought this land online. And so what's happening is that now that more people are coming, especially with the citizenship ceremony that just recently happened, some of those people, maybe not the majority, I doubt, but some of those people who recently got their citizenship also have land in Asebu. And there's a lot of people from the diaspora who have been also trying to give their land back in Asebu because this issue has been going on for at least 3 years now. And so I think it's really unfortunate, right? Because back in 2023, that was when I believe a BBC article came out. And that was where it was first recorded that, quote unquote, Diasporans were pulling out guns on the locals. Again, I was told that Diasporans' houses were getting broken into, and that is what was leading to guns being pulled on them. Again, I don't know who's telling the truth, but I think it's really unnecessary for us to even focus on that part. The focus is, this is how this is all happening. There is a chief, there is a team of people around the chief, because the chief cannot just do something on his own. And so the chief is also working with other diasporans to market and advertise Asebu. Right? Back in 2023, a woman by the name of Dawn Dixon was also selling land in Asebu. There have been women, men, diasporans, locals that have been talking about Asebu, even if they had just got to Ghana for 30 days or less than that. So there have been different people recruited to be agents, to be brand ambassadors almost, to basically market Asebu on their social media. And then you saw those same people having to apologize, having to take the backlash because there was a problem back in 2023 where people who had bought land in Asebu, some of them had to get their land relocated because the farmers were complaining. There was also the issue, or somehow the understanding, again, these are things that I was told by the people in those videos. I was put under the understanding that until the people who bought their land, until those people actually came to start building, their land would continue to be used by the farmers. Now, what I'm hearing is that there is a disconnect between the chief and the farmers, right? Because now what's happening is some of these farmers are basically saying they didn't know that their land was going to be a part of this land that was secured for the diaspora. You can also see in my video where the gentleman Kwame Natoto talks about how the Pan African Village project was never intended to just be for African Americans or just the diaspora. Allegedly, 25% was always going to be allocated for locals. So what does this mean, right? I think it means a few things. And I'm just going to be very real with you. I think that unfortunately, right now, buying land in Ghana, I would not advise it. The reason why I wouldn't advise it is because it's really almost impossible for you to own land in the way that you as an American understand owning land. Okay. Ghana's land is very like personal to them, whether we're talking about kingdoms that came here after the other, none of that matters, right? This land is their land, regardless of the emotional connection that we have to Africa. The reality is that there's no land in the world that is designated just for us as Black Americans. We do not have an entitlement anywhere. I know that that is a hard pill to swallow. I know it is, but if you are trying to go through the land buying thing and that is something that you really want, I would personally just advise you to keep traveling the continent and even maybe outside of the continent, okay? Because right now, Ghana is in a very sensitive space. And this is just me speaking personally. I am not somebody that markets Ghana's tourism. I don't market restaurants and all of that stuff. And I don't do that intentionally. I don't do that because I know that there is a way that people romanticize Africa and particularly Ghana. And it kind of blinds the truth and what people really need to know. I find it really heartbreaking, honestly, because there are so many people from the diaspora who are thinking it's the chief. So of course I can trust him. The chief is supposed to be the liaison between the outsiders and the local people. But unfortunately, allegedly, as what it looks like in this article and many other articles, it looks like there is a disconnect between the chief and the local community, as well as the chief and the diasporans. Because basically diasporans are being told it's free, you can come. But when they come, now they're having land disputes with the people nearby, and that liaison, which is supposed to be the chief and his team, is not handling it properly. So now there is now some type of protest. I don't know the form of protest that has been happening, but it seems like there's a pretty big protest and tensions are arising more than they have been in the past couple of years where we have heard these situations. And again, I'm going to be very honest with you. Some of these things have led to Black Americans and diasporans losing their lives out here. Okay. I'm going to do another video on that. And that is actually something that I've been working on for the past couple months. But there are diasporans who are losing their lives to these land disputes. Whether it's a chief, whether it's a land broker, whether it's an agent, whether it's a family person, but these things are happening. So it's one thing that, the locals are saying guns are being pulled on them, but it's another thing because people are also being unalived and they're also losing their lives, right? So, if you've scoured through YouTube, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the people who have lost their lives, especially the women who have been losing their lives in the past 3 to 4 years here in Ghana, particularly women who have came through the idea of year of return. And so I'm really, I feel like, when I saw this article, what's sad to me is that this situation has been happening since 2023, and then this is what it has amounted to. So let me get into why I decided not to buy land in Asebu. And hopefully this helps someone else who is in interest of buying land. And when it comes to understanding what type of questions you should be asking when someone is trying to buy you land, this is why I made the decision not to buy land. Number one, the first thing that I noticed when I went down to Asebu, I was told that over 300 people had bought land. But when I went to go see Asebu in 2022, there was probably only 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 houses that were built on the land at the time. And everywhere else was just bush. So for me, I was like, Definitely not, because it wasn't even like an area where there were like shanties or broken down homes, or even there wasn't even like a lot of construction in the area at the time in 2022 when I went. Another reason is I asked, so what are the plans with the actual, the not to be like diplomatic, but like the municipality of the area, what is the plans for the hospitals? What is the plan for the, for the roads? What are the plans for the schools? What are the plans for, the clinics and things like that? In 2022, when I was asking that question, I didn't get any answers. And so for me, I didn't understand how, respectfully, people who are not architects, people who are not city planners, people who aren't even agriculturalists are being put in charge of selling land or marketing land or being land brokers or whatever the case may be with absolutely no experience. I didn't like that. If you can't tell me, oh yeah, we're going to have a hospital, we're going to have a women's clinic, we're going to have a school over here and this and this, me as a young person, which I can't speak for the older people who have made the decision to come here and, and spend the rest of their life doing that. But for me as a young person, I was like, I don't know if I have that much time to sit around and wait for, respectfully, basic levels of development. And it didn't seem like those types of things were a priority. It seemed like, if you even go onto the website, asebuman.com, even when you go into the website, it tells you what type of homes they want to have in that area, despite the fact that this is a rural village. This is not a city area. This is very much so a rural area, and I don't even think I have the videos of when I went down to Asebu, but in the videos that I did, you can kind of see even the background, the scenery, which I'm pretty sure has probably developed by now. But another reason why I didn't want to buy land in Asebu is because when I went to the website and when I would ask people who lived there and the people who had bought land and people who were advertising it, I would ask them, what is the basic principles of this area? Is it just that it's Pan-African? Is there some type of way of living that is attached to it? Is there some type of sustainability attached to it? Is there some type of eco-living attached to it? And there was none of that. And so respectfully, but my idea of Pan-Africanism is not just you black, I'm black, so let's be neighbors. I'm not down with that. My type of Pan-Africanism is, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? What are you fighting against? Who's your enemy? Right? Because there's a lot of government agents out here. And there's a lot of people that are out here just to get a quick buck, and in the next year, they will never be in Ghana again. So you have to be very, very careful when you are making these decisions to buy land in this country and anywhere else, especially when you are not a part of the country. I am about to say something that is going to be so honest, but this isn't just how I feel. This is just what it is. There is no amount of DNA ancestry. There is no amount of changing your name. There is no amount of wearing fabric. There is no amount of learning the language, learning the dances, living amongst the people. Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, we will never be considered one of them. And I don't say that in a way as if they hate us. I'm saying that in a way that West Africa is a very tribal place. It is still operating out of tribalism. Tribalism doesn't have to always be negative, but the reality of the matter is that there is nothing that we can do to be considered one in one, okay? At the end of the day, how we feel about slavery is just a feeling in the grand scheme of things. It does not give you any entitlement. And if you want me to be honest, I don't think that it necessarily should. I think that there are hundreds of conversations that should be happening before we go so far into this building process and this investment process. I think that there's so much that can be had. I wish that there was conferences where we were actually coming together to teach each other about each other. I wish that the Year of Return was actually an annual conference that thousands of people came to every year and spoke at on all ends of the diaspora, so that we can actually learn about each other before we just come here by the busloads of hundreds and hundreds of people. And you even see in this article where at the end of the article, they basically say, you know, we hope that the solution can be that they can create some type of forum where the diasporans and the locals can share their grievances and share what it is that they want so that they can move forward from this. So I think one of the main solutions, obviously nobody asked, but I think one of the main solutions to just anything that's going on in Ghana is just we need to understand, what do Ghanaians want? What is the Ghanaian dream? Is the Ghanaian dream just to have the American dream in Ghana? What is the Ghanaian dream? What is the dream? What is the vision of the future? You have to ask the people that first, not the government, not the politicians, not the African music artists that speak at the Breakfast Club. You can't, those are not the people to ask about the future of Africa. And that's no disrespect. I'm just saying there is no universal understanding of what the future of Africa is. Just like how there's no universal understanding of what Pan-Africanism is. And so I feel like people are using a lot of emotional trauma marketing to get people to buy in, but then there's no opportunity to actually understand the culture, knowing that there's no real opportunity for us to really be a part of the culture as well. I'm sorry, but there's no amount of becoming a chief, becoming a queen mother. There's no amount of donating to these schools and all of that. You have to be willing to do those things, knowing that you are not going to necessarily reap any particularly privileges that you might desire. Those things are just not going to be given to you. Now, don't get me wrong. Can you buy your way through a lot of things? Yes, you can. But a lot of problems is going to come from that. And a lot of these land disputes is coming from people doing things under the table, people doing things because they think it's cheap and they think, let me just hurry up and do this. And sometimes it's just not the best choice. So I'm just going to leave that with you guys. Like I said, I hope that this video helps people to really understand what it is that they want to do in Ghana. And I also want people to really, take a step back and question what your idea of ownership is and what your idea of generational wealth is. Because if you go through the laws of Ghana, especially if you talk to a lawyer that is in Ghana and you talk to them about the Land Act and you talk to them about the real opportunities and the real stipulations against foreigners, it might help you to decide if Ghana is really the place that you want to come. And if it is, be okay with the fact that there are some things that you're not going to be able to pass down. These big houses that you see people buy, it's not a guarantee that they're going to be able to pass those things down to their family like they think that they want to. You hear so many people do this real estate thing and they like, oh, I want to have something for my family. I implore you guys to speak to these lawyers that are out here. If you are already in Ghana or if you are visiting Ghana, don't just come to Ghana to be at the parties. Come to Ghana and set up a consultation with a lawyer and speak to them about what's going on in their country and land. And they will tell you. They will tell you. Do your research. But right now, I'm going to be real with you guys. Right now, if you are not in Ghana, do not buy land online. Do not buy land online. That's all I got. Till next time.